I always say like food, a drink, and music. Those are three things that put people together. One of the rules that we always have, at least in my restaurants, is every day you change people's lives. Like they can come from a funeral, they can come from a divorce, they can come from have a bad news about someone and their family is really sick and is dying. And when they came here, your job is to change that moment and make it feel better while they're with you. I'm Dana Rodriguez, chef owner of Working Class, Cantina Loca, founder of Super Mega Bien, chef partner at Casa Bonita, and founder of Doña Loca Mezcal and Tequila. I grew up in Chihuahua, it's the border with El Paso. I grew up in a farm with, I'm an only child with my mom and my dad. My mom always have a little retail store, a grocery store. So now literally that's what restaurants are, you know, retail, sales people. So everything that I learned when I was little, I apply later now in my life. But it was amazing until things started getting crazy in the border in 1990s. It was pretty bad. And I have 3 daughters. So things start getting brutal. So for all of us, like that we have a small little retail places, you could not live there because they either kidnap one of your members in the family, or you see shootings like when you're going to take your kids to school and it's a dead body on the side and it becomes your normal life. And I'm a pretty strong woman, but I don't want my kids to grow forcing themselves to be strong since they are little. So it was bad. And I decided to move to the States because it was safer. Between the border and here, I mean, you're literally just running for your life. For me, it was just a goal to find a better life. And then you always hear about the American dream. But you know, in my 20s, I don't even think like how that would look like until you get yourself in here and you start understand what does that mean. I have in the beginning, I applied for protection for me and my kids. My daughter's father was killed by the mafia there. So I became a widow very, very young. I was 20, I already have my 3 kids. Then I land here to see my uncle and my cousin. It was September. And then it was beautiful, like the weather perfect, the mountains, everything. And I'm like, this feels like home. And that's when the whole journey started. Like, that's when I land here in 1998. And I applied at Casa Bonita, and now I'm back to work in that place. I start making friends, like right away. I remember on my 3rd job at Panzano, this guy came in and he said, "You're new." And I said, "Yeah. Do you need anything? You know how to get on the bus? Do you know where are the stores to get like the more essential things that a girl needs?" So another girl came in with a little Ziploc bag, toothpaste, toothbrush, and a few other things. And he's like, "I know how hard it is when you get here. People is really kind here." And coming from a crazy border, you're like, this is nice. You feel safe. So it was the first impression I have, like, I feel safe. In the beginning, I lived my 3 daughters, and the youngest one was 6 months. My 3 daughters stayed with my parents, and then I moved here. I went to see a few cities to see which one it feels like home. And I find Denver, so I decided to stay here. And then like 6 months later, I bring my parents and my 3 daughters. I opened Rioja with Jen and Beth. They're my mentors. They're the first 2 ladies who give me the opportunity to become a partner in a restaurant. And to today, I is still a partner in the restaurant with them. 10 years ago, I decided to go and open my own businesses. And it was like the proudest moment that my dad is like, "Oh, my daughter accomplished something in the United States." All of my restaurants are based in a few very small things. It's to take care of the people, to always help others, and to leave a legacy in your life. It's only so much that you can do to help other people. But when you have a small business, we can provide for 70 nonprofits, and we can help those people. So it's more than a culture, it's a legacy that I say to everyone, I'm here for a purpose in this life. It's to help all of you guys to grow, to accomplish your dream, but you need to follow that for the next generations. People don't know for immigrants, you know, like what do you need to learn to apply to open a business? Like it's a whole journey, but it kind of closes in a very amazing way. It's really hard always when you move from a different country, but it's just a process like everything else, and you just have to prove and show what's going on and what's the reason why you're here and how you can apply for everything. The most important thing is always never give up. Never give up. Keep searching for help and you will find it. And when you find that, you continue with your life and you can build amazing things. I always say, like, if one of my business closed, it's not because I failed. It's a learning process and I learned something new. So when I continue doing 10 more, I know what I do right and wrong. It's, you know, it's never about like if you accomplish things or not. It's like how you feel it, that you put everything into it and you make things work if you work hard. You just need to be focused on what you really want for your life, for your family, for your future. And you find the time to find the resources to educate yourself and find the people that they can help you. The network is your best friend in the United States to accomplish whatever dream you have. Literally last Tuesday, I went to do my citizenship test and I passed everything and it was pretty exciting. It took me 26 years. So it's a lot of things. You have to do a lot of process. It's a long process, a lot of paperwork, a lot of things, but it's a really good feeling when you get it. I'm very involved with the community and, you know, I hate political stuff, but sometimes you need to step up and show, you know, like, you know, when I have meetings with anyone on the government, I always say, the people who make decisions on our behalf for immigrants, for businesses, they're educated people, but they're not educated on what the problem is. People judge before they understand the problem. And instead of helping, they make things worse. And it's their job to learn about how they can solve the problem, but it's also our responsibility to show what are our needs. So I think it's a combination of like having a conversation about what is the solution and make it between the ones that they make the decision and the ones that they are in needs. And one thing that I tell everyone, including my kids, this is my everyday thing, never stop learning. Always educate yourself. You know, ignorance is one of the biggest things we have in our countries, and I think here you have all the resources and the opportunities to learn and to continue to build a better life. You have a culture, you have a philosophy, you have a legacy, you are a family.
I do identify myself as a former child refugee. So I don't say I'm a refugee, I say I was a refugee. Hi, my name is Mulania Bathin. I'm a court interpreter in the state of Colorado. My country of origin is Burma. My place of birth is Thailand, and my ethnicity is Korean. I can't speak for everyone else, but I know for me, it's important not to be in that victim mentality. Going forward, I can leave the past in the past and focus on, you know, better things than just living in the past and focusing on all the pain and suffering that my family and I had to endure. I think to Americans, they would use the word traumatic, but I think within my community, it's just life. We just live through it and we just move forward because we don't really have a choice. My story is a little bit different from other people from my community, and that's because my grandfather was a politician, and so I remember vividly how happy and loving my community was because we lived in a normal house. We had essentially a normal life. When I was 7, you know, that was when everything changed. We were told, okay, the Burmese soldiers are coming, we have to go. And you just, you know, essentially just pick up what you could. And I remember my mom gave me a really heavy bag of rice, and we just went into the jungles. I remember moving from one refugee camp to the next and dreaming about going back to our home, because in a refugee camp you're in a hut, you're with a bunch of people, there's really no clean water. My grandfather's friend, he was a pastor. He was one of the people that sponsored my family and I. So we came here through the United Nations, and then our sponsor was through his church. The biggest surprise for me that I experienced when I immigrated to the States when I was 11, everyone was really tall, really pale, and the roads were really large, and there was this sense of freedom that I experienced for the first time. I felt like people were free to really live and enjoy and express joy. And that's something that I hadn't experienced before. My country of origin is Burma. My country of birth is Thailand. My ethnicity is Karen. And that's important to me because in order to know who I am now, you have to understand the history of why I am in this country. The British colonized Burma for over a century. And because my ethnic group were considered tribal people at the time, they called us Karen. So the name is anglicized, but we are a group of people that don't have a country. We exist in the border of Burma and Thailand, and Karen people are still fighting against the Burmese military junta to this day. So it's the world's longest civil war. I view Colorado as its name, right? Colorful Colorado. When I think of Colorado, I think of all different nationalities, different ethnicities, different types of people. I have very positive things to say about Colorado, especially in the Denver area, because of what I've able to experience. Colorado doesn't feel like real home. I was born in Thailand. My ethnicity is Karen, and my nationality is American. And I identify with a lot of kids who immigrated here at a very young age. I know there was a sociologist that coined the term third culture kid. It's someone that grew up in a society outside of their parents' country. And so they try to combine different cultures and traditions into their own little world. And with this kind of mindset, you never feel really rooted. People always tell me, home is not a place. It's where your heart is. For me personally, I'm still trying to figure that out. So it's a work in progress. I love hiking. I love being in nature. I love seeing other people being outdoor and smiling and talking to one another. I think that's one thing that really makes Colorado what it is. When I moved here in 2011, we had a huge population, but then because of how expensive everything became, they eventually moved to places like Nebraska, Ohio, Arkansas, Kentucky. And the joke in our family is that we're an immigrant and we're always working. And I remember working up to 80 hours a week, working 2 jobs, just to make ends meet, especially in a city like Denver, because everything is just so expensive. And it's hard. I think the most misunderstood thing about, refugees, asylum seekers, immigrants, is that we come here and we just absorb and extract all the resources. But in reality, if you look at the data, we're the ones that are contributing to our society because we are willing to do the jobs that Americans find it too low of a pay. We're all here as humans to experience what it's like to be a human being. And even though we come from 2 different countries, there is something that ties us together innately, and that's what it's like to be human. I think when I was 11, I truly believed that there is such thing as an American dream. And then eventually, when I learned more about, the system and how this country functioned as a whole, I realized that it's called American dream for a reason because it only happens in a dream, right? If I would have to describe what an American dream to me now would be, living to enjoy the things that you enjoy, not working for the sake of working. I think the most important thing is to be grateful, but I think experiencing, ethnic cleansing and surviving that as a family, we're constantly on edge that it could happen again. And so I don't think about, having more money for my family or having a house in Hawaii. I don't think about things that are not part of our daily discussions. I just focus on being grateful and that we are safe at the moment.
My name is Alejandro Antonio Fuentes Mena. I am a creative individual. I'm an individual who loves to sing, or maybe I'll sing y'all a song. I am an undocumented, DACA-mented individual who has been in the educational sphere for like 10 to 12 years. Even though I was in the context of a classroom for about 10 of those years, I'm now doing education consultant sort of work. I was born in Valparaiso, Chile, and I was there until the age of 4. I was raised in San Diego, California, and that's where I was till the age of 18. I went to school up in Washington, the state, not DC, to a place called Whitman College in Walla Walla, Washington. And then I ended up here in Denver, Colorado in 2013. I'm an advocate of stories like mine. Whenever I am able to share space in different rooms, and people are actually able to see me, look into my eyes, feel my spirit, I'm hoping that I have just like a few more people that are willing to advocate for me and fight for me. I want people to be able to say like, this individual just in existing is worthy of existing in this country because he's, by all intents and purposes, like paid his dues. It still feels like, did I do enough to make even the contrarian believe that I am worthy of being in this nation? My mom left when I was 2 years old. And she came to the United States to pursue the dream, the American dream, right? My aunts and my uncles encouraged my mom, and they're all like, look, you had this dream of what you wanted to pursue, go off and do it. We'll take care of El Patito Fuentes, that's what they used to call me. Once she got here, because she, her temporary visa expired pretty soon after, she ended up not being able to get a job, was living on the streets, and ended up going with this church. And this church helped her get her off the streets. And I actually arrived on Mother's Day, right when I was turning 4, as a surprise to my mom. The church had gathered basically all the funds to bring me all the way from Chile to the United States. And the way that I remember it is they geared me up in some cowboy boots because I was trying to pass off as American, some jeans. The cowboy boots were a little too small, and this NASA jacket. And my uncle came with me, dropped me off with some pastors in Mexico. The pastors from Mexico ended up driving me to the church. And she was surprised and didn't know that I was gonna be there. And she runs to me and I run to her. And it was just a very sweet moment of reuniting with my mom. What ended up bringing me to Colorado was teaching. There was this period of time where I didn't know what I was going to be doing next, because at the time I had gone to college and university completely undocumented. And at the time there was no DACA, aka no deferred action that would give me a temporary work permit or any of those things. And so I got to this place in my head where I was all like, why did I work so hard when the end goal is probably going to be doing what my parents did, which is working very hard for very little money. And probably along the lines of construction or a service job or something along those lines. And there was this one teacher that I had growing up that really put a lot of her energy and a lot of her efforts towards me. There was a presentation from Teach for America at Whitman that I was all like, wow, that A, reminds me of the teacher that made a huge impact on my life, and B, I would love to have that impact on even one individual. Thanks to the help of people who were literally getting arrested on the streets in order to advocate for individuals like us, thanks to the advocacy that was also coming from networks like Teach for America and other nonprofit organizations, they put enough pressure on Obama for him to bring deferred action to life. And the way that I actually ended up in Denver, Colorado was that once I finally got accepted into the program, Denver Public Schools was actually the only district in the entire nation willing to take on DACA-mented teachers like us. Because they were the only ones who were willing to be available, me and Kareli, the only two DACA-mented teachers that had applied through Teach for America at the time, ended up being placed here. DACA is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It is a work permit that has to be renewed every 2 years. It also is a stay from deportation. And in order to get it, you have to have qualified within a certain period of time. You had to have been above the age of 16, make sure that you're not in trouble with the law, be pursuing career or college, and every 2 years you have to pay another $500 or so in order to renew this work permit. The main difference is the fact that you are able to work with you actually end up getting a temporary Social Security, which is the biggest reason why undocumented individuals aren't able to work. And I call it a privilege or a temporary thing because, as you very well know, like Trump and other individuals try to get rid of it various times, and it's because of that and because it's not actually written into law that we don't have a new generation of DACA-mented individuals. I've been like an individual that is completely invested in community organizing, an individual that has supported, at this point I counted, I've seen over 1,200 students over my 10 years and have impacted them in the most positive way that I can. And those are all amazing and beautiful things. And then as soon as I decided that I had sort of been burnt crispy, in fact, by the educational sphere, one of the biggest things that rose up within me in terms of this fear was whether or not people would still consider me as valuable, as human, if I chose to not over-exceed. It makes me nervous as to whether or not the general public, especially the individuals that don't necessarily agree with me even being here, whether this just sort of like supports their claims of like, what are they even doing here? The short answer is that I don't feel very stable. I mean, I'm literally having to renew and plead my case every 2 years about whether or not I should be here, and if I have not been an upstanding citizen, people within the USCIS have the ability to just say like, we are not going to renew your work permit. Superhumanity is the burden that I think a lot of immigrants and children of immigrants place upon themselves. It's this idea that your actions and every step that you take is not only something that is for the sake of yourself, but it's for the sake of your community and your family. And all of a sudden, you're not just you, you're a representative or you're a representation of anyone that shares your story or remotely looks like you. Just existing is not enough, that you have to go for more than survival, that you have to reach for this ultimate idea of the American dream. And if you're not doing that, then you're not doing enough. And so like you are literally charging yourself to be a superhuman, to be more than any human is really capable of. This is one of my favorite songs to sing on the spot, just because it's so melodic. It also gets at this like earthiness of like the struggle, and brings out a little bit of hope. I am a poor, wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world alone. And there's no fear, no toil or danger to this bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my mother. I'm going there, no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home now.
PBS 12 believes in the power of original, local programming. Help us bring more shows, like the one you just watched, by donating at pbs12.org/program support today.